Flats have many advantages for modern living, but they present undeniable challenges for families with babies and very young children. The lack of outdoor space means limited opportunities for fresh air and play, which are essential for healthy development. Also, according to the newspaper from 1923. Today, we're exploring the weird and oddly refreshing case of baby cages, which was a popular practice in the early 1900s of putting babies in cages to ensure that they could get sufficient air and sunlight. Now, you don't have to be a genital bathing biohacker to know that both of these are very, very good for you. And you don't need a degree in civil engineering to understand why placing your baby in a chicken wire cage meters above the ground might not be the best idea. So let's jump into today's episode to understand what the hell these people were thinking. The idea of airing out babies had its roots in the 1884 book, The Care of Feeding of Children, by Dr. Luther Emmett Holt. Written during a time of rapid industrialization and urbanization, Holt's book became the go-to guide for parents navigating the illnesses that plagued infants in overcrowded cities. As the director of New York's Babies Hospital in the late 1880s, Holt was a pioneer in infant care. His observations of high infant mortality rates in tenement housing, caused by poor sanitation and bacteria-laden milk, led to innovations such as milk certification. Holt also introduced the concept of the medical chart, inspired by nurses attaching clipboards to infant cribs during hospital rounds. His book included a variety of recommendations that ranged from the feeding of babies of certified milk to subjecting them to cold temperatures to boost immunity. Holt emphasized the importance of fresh air, writing, "Fresh air is required to renew and purify the blood, and this is just as necessary for health and growth as proper food." He suggested that babies could be exposed to fresh air by sleeping outdoors or having cribs placed near open windows, but he stopped short of recommending the extreme methods that would later arise. By the early 1900s, some mothers were growing desperate for solutions, especially in overcrowded cities where outdoor space was scarce. Enter the health cage, invented by Miss Lafferty, who provided babies with some fresh air and sunshine. The Call of the time claimed, if a baby is to thrive, it must be kept out in the open air and sunshine. Miss Lafferty designed the cage for exactly this purpose. Made of willow and padded for safety, the cage stood 2 feet high and wide, with screens and covers to protect its young occupant from harm. It was specifically designed to sit on window ledges, providing fresh air without the slightest risk of the baby falling out, or so it was claimed. The practice of airing out babies wasn't just limited to the poor. In 1908, Eleanor Roosevelt bought a chicken wire cage for her infant daughter, Anna. Roosevelt, who admitted she had little experience in childcare, hung the cage outside her townhouse window in East 26th Street in New York City. Doctors of the time often advised parents to let their babies cry out, and Roosevelt did follow this advice, placing Anna in the cage for naps. However, concerned neighbours, alarmed by the crying and the unconventional setup, threatened to report her to child protection authorities. Shocked by this reaction, Roosevelt eventually stopped the practice, but later reflected that she believed she was being the modern mother. With outdoor space at a premium in urban spaces, window-fitted cages provided an inventive solution for parents. The belief that cold temperatures could build a child's immunity was widespread, and parents went to great lengths to expose their children to fresh air, even in unconventional ways. In 1922, Emma Reed of Spokane, Washington, patented the first commercial baby cage. Her design featured removable curtains for shade and weather protection, making the cage both a sleeping space and an outdoor haven for infants. The patent stated, "It is well known that a great many difficulties arise in raising and properly housing babies and small children in crowded cities. This invention provides a solution, allowing babies to receive fresh air and sunshine safely suspended outside an open window." By the 1930s, baby cages had become extremely popular in London. Apartments with limited access to gardens made outdoor exposure difficult, and baby cages offered a practical alternative. Neighbourhood groups like the Chelsea Baby Group distributed cages to members supported by organisations such as the Royal Institute of British Architects. They promoted the idea that balconies for babes were essential features of middle-class housing. Baby cages remained in use until the outbreak of World War II. The Blitz and Luftwaffe's bombing of London made hanging a baby cage outside a window far too dangerous. Whilst there was a brief resurgence in their use after the war, they never regained their pre-war popularity. Despite its initial appeal, the baby cage eventually fell out of favour. The risk of accidents was too significant. Moreover, advancements in urban planning and public health reduced the need for such measures. Parks and communal spaces became more common, and indoor air quality improved with better ventilation systems. By the mid-20th century, baby cages were considered to be a relic of a bygone era, their unconventional appearance and potential dangers overshadowing their practicality. The baby cage is a fascinating example of how medical advice and technological innovation intersected with the early 20th century. Parents, desperate to improve their children's health, embraced creative solutions that might seem shocking today, but were grounded in genuine concern and the prevailing scientific beliefs of the time. Whilst the practice of hanging babies outside windows may now seem unthinkable, it highlights the evolving nature of parenting practices and societal norms. What was once a reasonable solution is now viewed with disbelief, but it stands